Well, here we are at the Bluebird Cafe to talk about singing through sound equipment. I remember the first time I had to, I was completely terrified. And I see a lot of people come to open mic on Monday nights who seem pretty uncomfortable with it. So I'm going to demystify the whole thing for you because it's really pretty simple. I'm going to show you how it all works, and then you don't have to be nervous about it when you come to play. First, let's talk about the microphone. But before I talk about the microphone, I'm going to talk about the microphone stand. This is your friend. The goal of this microphone stand is to bring the mic to you. You don't have to go to the mic. If you come and it's too tall, you don't have to stretch up to it, and if it's too short, you don't have to scrunch down to get into it. This thing is super adjustable, and it will bring the mic right to your mouth. It adjusts in several different ways. The first way is just the up and down part of the stand here, this straight part of the stand, and it adjusts with this little wheel that's here. Some of them are metal, some of them are plastic, but they all work the same, lefty, loosey, righty, tighty, so just turn it to the left. And then when you get it back where you want it, you turn it to the right. Oops, it's a little too low. All right, right back at my mouth. Another place you can adjust it is this boom. This is called the boom. A lot of, sometimes you'll see a microphone stand and it doesn't have this piece on it. It's just the straight up and down stand. But if you're playing the guitar, that's kind of awkward because then your guitar's too close to the stand when you're singing into it. So that's why most of the time if you come to a writer's night in Nashville, you're going to find a mic with a boom like this. And so these booms can adjust the length. There's a little screw on this side and it'll slide up and it'll slide down. So that's another way that you can adjust it. And this one even has an extension on it, so you can pull it up this way or pull it down. Another place you can adjust is the angle of the mic clip itself. See, when it's up here, you can't hear me very well. But when I point it right at my mouth, it works just great. The last place I'm going to talk about is the first place that people try to make this adjustment, and that is moving this up and down. On behalf of club owners everywhere, please listen closely to what I'm telling you. These are made to be loosened with this big wing nut here. You loosen it, and then when you get it right where you want it, tighten it again. Now, you guys with strong hands, you don't need to tighten it within an inch of its life, just enough so it's not going to droop, and take it easy on us girls who don't maybe have as much strength in our hands as you do. The reason that I am asking you to please loosen it first is, yeah, you can yank it up and down without doing that, but what happens is over time it strips the threads. Have you ever seen somebody on stage and they're singing, and while they're singing their mic keeps drooping and they're trying to chase it down while they play? Well, that's because these threads have gotten stripped, and they get stripped because the people just move it up and down without loosening it first. So to endear yourself to club owners everywhere, you and the sound man, you can remember to loosen it before you do that. Okay, now let's talk about how close you should be to the mic. Like I said, you want to bring it to your face, but I think the ideal distance is 2 or 3 inches away from the mic. You know, what you're hearing now is my voice coming through the PA, and it's nice and bright, and you can hear it just fine. And then when I get right on top of the mic, do you hear how it kind of flattens out the sound? It's all mid-rangey and kind of muffled even a little bit. And then I tell you, if I have reverb on your voice and you get that close to it, we're going to lose the reverb effect too. So just back a little bit will make your sound a lot better. If you're screaming over a rock band and there's drums and bass and amplifiers, then you might want to get really close. But for a normal writer's night or open mic, just a few inches away is going to give you a better sound to your voice. And besides, if it's a mic a whole lot of people are using, you don't want to put your mouth on it anyway, because you just never know. Okay. Now, another important thing, especially for those of you who sing with a lot of dynamics, is if you're going to get really loud, you need to back away. Sometimes I'll be EQing somebody's voice and they're singing the verse, and they're singing really quiet and really sweet. And then they get to the chorus and it's really big and loud and they burst forth and oh, it hurts our eardrums. So if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna sing a whole lot louder than you have been singing, back away a little bit. Maybe even turn your head to the side a little bit. Just be cognizant of the fact that if I have your sound set so that we can hear you like this, you don't want to blast it at the same distance from the mic. Okay, we've talked about singing through a microphone. Now let's talk about what you do with the guitar. If you come to the Bluebird on a Monday night, or most of the writers' nights in Nashville, you're going to find a cord already hanging on the stand for you. It's just right here, or someplace close by. Somebody might drop it on the floor, but we always have a cord for you. So you want to plug the cord in. Now mine plugs in here at the end on the pin that holds the strap. That's where most cords plug in. But be sure you know exactly where yours is, because if you haven't figured that out, I mean, you might just be borrowing a guitar or renting a guitar, or it might be new, or maybe you've just never played with it amplified before, so you don't want to be standing up here trying to figure that out. So know where it is ahead of time, and then know where your volume control is. Mine's right here. Sometimes they're in the sound hole, different places. Now, my guitar has this little thing here where I have this volume control, and then this is the EQ where I can boost the treble and the bass and the mid-range. So learn about your guitar before you get up on stage. Figure out how you adjust the bass, which way is up on the volume, which way is down. Is there a mute switch? How do you mute it or not? Because again, you don't want to be up here trying to amplify your guitar and there's no sound. And one thing I want to say is you might want to just set your EQ kind of flat where everything's exactly even, and let the sound man figure out how to get the best sound for you by adjusting their EQ in the back, because they can hear what's coming through the speakers better than you can. Now, if you know your guitar well and you know that when you plug it in it's a little too tinny, well, go ahead and pull the treble down, pull the bass up a little. But when you're boosting that bass, be really careful, because some people just like to really crank the bass because they like that really deep sound. And then what happens is, no matter how far down I turn the bass back there, it's still booming and feeding back, and it's just not a pleasant sound. So if you're one of those people who likes lots of bass, just be real sensitive about whether it's feeding back or not. Now, like I said, most of the times in Nashville, if you're playing a writer's night or an open mic, there's going to be a cord there for you. But if you're playing somewhere that doesn't supply you with a cord, be sure to bring your own. Always better safe than sorry. And then you'll have to find the direct box. You can see this here is the direct box, and it says in and out, so you just want to plug it in where it says in. One really important thing to remember about plugging your guitar into the direct box or plugging the cord into your guitar, you want to be sure that the sound is not on that channel, because if that channel is hot, when you yank that cord, ooh, it's a big loud pop and it's not pleasant for anybody, and sometimes it can even damage the sound equipment. Now, some of you might not have a pickup in your guitar, and that's not a problem, at least here at the Bluebird, because we always have a mic that you can use. We put ours on a shorter stand, but it adjusts the same way as the taller one. You can adjust it up and down on the stand itself. You can adjust the length of the boom. You can adjust the angle of the boom. One of the most important things to know about miking your guitar is that you do not want to point it straight into the sound hole, because the signal will bounce off the back of your guitar and you'll get a lot of feedback. The ideal place that most sound technicians will tell you is to point the mic right where the neck meets the guitar. Now, all of this stuff is exactly the same if you want to sit down. Adjust the mic. Bring it right to your face. That one's a little close for me, so I'm going to shorten the boom a little bit. I got to change the angle on this. Or actually, maybe I can just lower the boom a little. There, I just shortened it a little bit. Change the angle, pick the stand up and move it over. All kinds of ways to adjust it. And then maybe aim the clip, adjust the angle of the clip a little bit so it's not routing the sound hole. And I'm ready to go. Okay, the last thing I'm going to talk about is the monitors. The monitors are the speakers that sit in front of the stage and they're pointed back at you so you can hear yourself. And that's important that you be able to hear yourself, so if you can't, let the sound person know. But rather than just say, can I have more monitor, let them know whether you need more voice or guitar or maybe some of each. If the guitar is too loud and it's drowning out your voice, you can either ask them to turn the guitar down or you can ask them to turn the voice up. If the mix is really good but it's too loud or too soft, just say, the mix is good, could you turn it up or turn it down a little bit. But bear in mind that there's a limit to how much monitor you can get. The Bluebird here, it's a small room. We only seat 100 people. And sometimes people are up here saying, give me more monitor, I can't hear myself. And I've almost turned the mains all the way down and just the monitor sound bouncing off the wall and coming into the club is already louder than I want it, but they still want more monitor. So be reasonable in your requests, or, I mean, believe me, you don't want to make an enemy out of the sound person because they have a lot of control over how well you sound, and you don't want to annoy the audience. You want them on your side when you perform. Well, I think that's everything you need to know, and I hope this has helped you be more comfortable next time you get on stage.